West Ham United are in perilous peril. There you go. We're sleepwalking into relegation. It's been happening for quite some time now. And understandably, a lot of people want to find the smoking gun. They want to point the finger at that one thing that's causing us all this. And I think I understand why, in the hope that it will rectify what's gone wrong. Every day there are comments on this channel from different people. And the reason is different, but they start with the same thing. This is at the start of the post, very similar. And it starts along the lines of, I don't know how many times I've got to say this. Yesterday's one, I don't know how many times I've got to say this. But losing Stuart Pearce is the reason. Doesn't have to be that. I don't know how many times I've got to say this. Mikel Antonio's finished. I don't know how many times I've got to say this. Cresswell's no good at left back. I don't know how many times I've got to say this, but moving Declan Rice, moving Thomas Souček to accommodate Declan Rice. Anyway, there's loads of them. Loads and loads and loads. And they are all valid in their own right. I do it myself, to be fair. I mean, I'm like a scratched record with pace. Probably been saying it for 2 years now. And I guess, you know, there's a currency for yourself for wanting to tell everybody, I've been saying this. Look, there you go. I've been saying this for quite some time. But I don't just think it's one thing. I really don't. I think there's a number of things. I don't think bringing Stuart Pearce back solves the problem. I don't think just changing the left back solves the problem. And so on and so forth. Because I think there's an awful lot more at play here. There's a lot wrong. And for that reason, whilst everybody is right, no one person has the solution. There's a really worrying thing about all of this at the moment, and that is that I believe the hierarchy at the club, and you can actually chuck David Moyes in on this if you want, either don't appreciate what perilous peril we're in, or they're going to realise too late. They've not seen the danger coming on this one. They won't be. I'll give you a story. There may be some anecdotes. I say anecdotes. There may be some analogies. I can speak well today, can't I? Maybe some analogies and some cliches in this. The other day, I was pulling out of this road to go onto the main road. I was looking to turn left. To my right, there was a mum pushing a buggy, presumably a baby in the buggy, and then a toddler. I don't know. Maybe a 3-4-year-old, something like that, to the side. A bit older than a toddler, holding on to the buggy. The young child's holding on to the buggy and walking. There's a baby in the buggy. Mum's pushing the buggy with one hand. In the other hand, she's got a phone. And she's wrapped up in her phone. Now, she's 10 metres away from at the point where she will cross the road and cross in front of me. Ordinarily, I'll pull out and I'll go. But I sensed danger, basically. I could see what was happening. The mum wasn't paying attention. She was far too wrapped up in whatever was going on the phone. As she's doing whatever she's doing on the phone, her pace of walking is slowing. It's slowing, but she's still looking down. The little kid's pace of walking is carried on. At this point, the kid's let go of the buggy and the child's walking. Has now overtaken the buggy. The child's about to cross the road. Now, it's not just me. I've noticed it, but cars are going to pull into the road from the main road. It gets to the point, what am I going to do? I've stopped. What am I going to do? In the end, the kid's this far from walking into the road. I beat the horn. The mum jumps up, startles, gives me a dirty look like I've done something wrong. Grabs the kid, tells the kid off. Anyway, you get the idea. The mum didn't see danger at all. If she had done, either two things happen. Either she realises it's too late or nothing happens and the person pulling in the road notices just like I did. She didn't sense the danger. And I just feel that we are, well, I guess the club are the mum, aren't they, at the moment? You know, and the team, unfortunately, are the toddler about to walk in the road. I'm not entirely sure that the club have noticed that this is about to happen. There's a major worry with all of this, and that is that this is not being noticed. And it looks like he's got until Everton. And I don't know how. For the life of me, I don't know how. I don't know why the people that are decision-making at the club have not noticed that this is a precarious situation. Have not noticed. We've run... I was going to say we're running out of 3 points. We've run out. We have run out. If this is not sorted now, we go down. But where's the urgency? Honestly, they're acting like they're acting like a bunch of stone surf dudes who think they've got all the time in the world. They really do. It's urgency. The time is upon us. The time is now. And if they keep dithering, they are going to dither us into relegation. It's going to be cataclysmic for the club. Because for all the reasons I've said, 30,000 fans in that stadium, and all the stuff I've been through over and over again, a relegation is maybe something we don't come back from at West Ham. Sorry, I feel a bit odd doing this now because I'm a mid-rant, but this video is sponsored by the OneFootball app. Now, the OneFootball app, which you can download by using the link below, is absolutely full of West Ham stories at the moment. It's going to be full of David Moyes stuff. It's going to be full of who we might be looking to sign, of our precarious position in the league. And the reason it's full of all that stuff is because what it does is it aggregates all the West Ham news. When you sign up for this free app, it asks you which team you support. You click on West Ham. What it does, it goes searching around all the internet for all the West Ham news, be it transfer, be it team news, injury news, just general club gossip. And what it will do is it will deliver them to your phone so you don't have to go searching for it. The link's in the description below. If you please use that link, they'll know you've come from Hammers Chat, and we get a nice pat on the back. Yeah, I was going to say pat on the head. That's patronising. A pat on the back for doing so. So just looking at this sort of sleepwalking into this situation here, I've noticed something that's a little bit of a concern. It's some of the noises coming out that somehow Mark Noble is going to be involved going forward. If that's the case, we've made a whopping great mistake because Mark Noble didn't start his job until January. Mark Noble is behind the curve on this one, and he's going to have an awful lot of catching up to do. We're already in a situation where we're moving too slowly on this. If what we've got to do is wait for Mark Noble to get up to speed as well, because he's had the last 6 months off, don't begrudge him 6 months off, welcome to it. He's been a great servant to the club. Then we are in a little bit of trouble. Also, we hear from David Moyes that Mark Noble has been and sort of welcomed into the bosom of the decision-making, if you like, for want of a different phrase. And David Moyes has said this week that he's getting Mark Noble more involved. He's going to speak to him before transfers and things like that. This is not good for the club, but we don't need more closeness. We actually need a degree of separation because a ruthless decision needs to be made, and it needs to be made. I was going to say it needs to be made yesterday. It needed to be made in November, but you get what I mean. We don't have the luxury of time on this one. One of the reasons, going back to the start of the video, that we are in this precarious situation is because there's a favourites culture at the club. There's a buddies thing going on here. It's why certain players that are either out of form or past their sell-by date continue to get selected for the team, irrespective of form and performance, not over the last couple of games, but over a long period of time. Months and months and months, going on for a year. That's why there are people who show promise and who are in good form, don't get into the team, or are left on the substitutes bench because they're not part of the clan, are they? That's really it. It's not whether it's a case of your face doesn't fit. None of that matters anymore. Actually, it just matters that some people are given preferential treatment, and clearly, people are allowed to. I'm talking about the team here. People are allowed to stay in positions that they don't deserve. They've kept the shirt, but they haven't earned it. They retain their place in the team when they should have lost their place in the team. And this is the reason Ben Rama gets ditched. This is the reason youngsters leave like they do. This is the reason there's no path to it because the old favourites, irrespective of how crap they are, Thomas Souček wants to make 8 passes in a game, no problem. No problem at all. I don't, I feel a little bit bad digging him out, but I'm also sort of semi-past caring. And this is where we find ourselves in a problem with Mark Noble. Because the last thing we need at the moment is another person at the club who is grateful to somebody else. David Moyes is grateful to Thomas Souček because of what he did 2 years ago. so he retains his place in the team. You get where I'm going with this. We can carry on and we can carry on, we can carry on. So it doesn't matter that in the here and the now, they're awful. There's a historical appreciation going on here. There's a gratitude. These are great sentiments, by the way. In life, in normal everyday life, these are great sentiments. We don't have time for them right now where we are. This is not everyday life. This is football. This is cutthroat. This is the best example you can get of a cutthroat decision-making business. You get something right, you get some points for it. You get something wrong, you get no points. This is not everyday life. You do not have the luxury of just sort of sticking, you know what, I'm going to stick with my old buddy because he was good to me 2 years ago. This is not it. You know, David Moyes can be nice to these people in his private life. This is about getting 3 points. 1 point would have been nice. The last thing we need is another situation manifesting itself at the club where somebody is grateful to somebody else. So Mark Noble is grateful to David Moyes. And because they're close and because they got that nice old pals relationship, we'll give him another game. We'll give him another game. I'll tell you now, it won't be good for Mark Noble's reputation. I mean, he's got a lot of credit in the bank, let's be fair. I'd rather him not be involved. I don't mean at the club. And this is why it's the prerogative of the owners to take this decision away and make sure that Mark Noble is not part of this, because he's compromised. That would be the word I use. Mark Noble is compromised on making a clear, cutthroat decision that's right for West Ham because he feels a loyalty and a debt of gratitude to David Moyes. That's what I'm hearing. If I'm wrong, then fair enough, but that is not the way that it's coming across. That's not the way it's being reported. That's not the way David Moyes is speaking. It's not the way Mark Noble has spoken when he's given his interviews. He released a book recently. Ahead of the release of the book, he did a load of interviews, I don't know, Talk Sport and different other platforms, and joined Jack Mate on the Happy Hour podcast. And this is not the vibe I'm getting. The vibe I'm getting is he likes David Moyes. He appreciates David Moyes. There's too much stuff there. There's too much closeness. It really, really is. Basically, if it was a cop show, they'd be saying you're too close to this, you're off the case. Seriously, that's what would be happening. A ruthless decision has to be made. I understand David Sullivan is not in a great position. I don't subscribe to this theory that he won't be too bothered about David Gold. I don't think you can work closely with somebody for 45 years and not be impacted by it. And for that, he has my sympathy. I have obviously more sympathy for Gold's family, but they don't have to be involved in this, and they've got things to plan, and I understand that. But David Sullivan needs to. There's we'll discuss it later on in the week. There's going to be basically a thank you ahead of the Everton game, or I don't know. I don't know how the club are going to play it. There's basically going to be a time to pay your respects for David Gold ahead of the Everton game. It's not about it being poorly timed. You know, he passed away when he passed away. This is where the fixture list is. You know, however, my point being, I understand the club have got things to do, but we still need to make a decision. Look, things happen in life, unfortunately, you know, and even when they do, you still have to sort of refocus. You know, the car repayment still has to be paid. Life goes on. You know, you still have to pay for your electricity. You still have to go shopping. You still have to get on with life whilst you grieve. And it's as, you know, that's just the way it is. It's tough. But I don't think David Gold, I feel uncomfortable speaking for someone who's passed away. I don't think David Gold would have wanted us for David Sullivan to take his eye off the ball to such an extent that West Ham get relegated. I think he would have wanted him to do what's best for the club. Now, I don't know. Maybe David Gold wanted to retain David Moyes. I really don't know. And I've already spoken too much about that situation, really, bearing in mind it's a little bit disrespectful because the chap's passed away. But a decision has to be made. And it just seemed to be, whilst it's everything that's true, Stuart Pearce and Declan Rice and Aaron Cresswell and all that technical stuff on the pitch is all very, very true. There is this other stuff going on at West Ham at the moment where decisions are either being made or not being made for sentimental reasons. be it, closeness between the players and the manager, closeness between Mark Noble and David Moyes, concern about getting things right, about paying our respects correctly to David Gold. There's a lot of that stuff, and while this stuff is going on, as ruthless as it may sound, we are sleepwalking into relegation. We are a rudderless ship. We really are. There's no cohesive direction. You do not feel at any point when you are watching what's unfolding at West Ham United that there is certainty, that there is direction. It's muddled. It's uncertain. And that's at best. That's if they've even noticed. And I think that's possibly what worries me the most, with this constant rehashing, refreshing of the news that, he's got one more game, there's been one more game or three more games or whatever it is. That there is some... It leads you to believe that the people making decisions think there's an infinite period of time to gather enough points to stay in the league. There's not. There's a finite number of points. And with our indecision and our inactivity, we are surrendering them to such an extent that by the time we realise we're in peril, there may not be enough points left for us to save ourselves from relegation.